Picture the first year of your retirement. Exhilarating, right? But what about years 2, 5, 10, 20, or 30? Without a plan for staying active, interacting with people, using your gifts, finding new challenges, and maybe taking on a side hustle that brings in a little extra cash, might your retirement feel more like stagnation? Stay tuned as we offer ideas to keep you growing right now on the Retirement Lifestyle Show.
Welcome to the Retirement Lifestyle Show. I'm your co-host, Roshan Loungani, here as always with Erik Olson and Adrian Nicholson. We have an exciting episode for you today. We will work with people all the time, retirees that are trying to figure out what they want to do with their time in retirement. And we will get different groups of people. I have some people who have a game plan in place, know exactly what they want. And I've got some clients who have no idea and even extend working so they can figure it out. So today we're going to talk about things that you can do, or really examples of what some of our clients have done, as well as some research we've done. And this is not just for the people who are retiring sometime soon. We've also looked into things that would classify as side hustles that you can do at any age. So gentlemen, I think this will be a really interesting episode. I think it'll be really valuable for people out there. So why don't we dive right in? Adrian, you mentioned you've got a good story. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I guess I'll start off with a more personal story with this, or kind of let the listeners get to know me a little bit. And I'll just run off 3 activities that I like enjoying that I can probably see myself doing my entire life. And I'll kind of turn it into a little bit of a riddle and see if you guys know the answer.
Okay.
So what do these 3 things have in common? It's golf, gaming, and go-karting.
Well, other than the alliteration, I suppose there's a few other things we could figure.
That's a good. I'll give Erik that. You got it. They all start with G's, but the most popular thing about those things, or why they're tailored, is because they're just activities I enjoy doing on the weekend.
All right.
Again, I'm going to go over the list: go-karting, golfing, and gaming. And one thing that's really important about it too is this: sometimes I have to kind of step away from those things, because if I'm just doing it constantly, it's always good to break up the routine. And last weekend I did that. I went to a family reunion, and that was just awesome. It was really awesome, just kind of taking a break from all these activities I enjoy doing, and doing a family reunion, which I haven't done in the last 2 years. So that was really awesome.
Oh, I'm
Cool.
sure that was nice to see everybody after 2 years.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, like golfing, gaming, and go-karting, I've been doing that a lot more because everything's been a little bit different. But like I said, it's always good to kind of break it up once in a while. You might find yourself kind of in a little bit of a repetition. So it's always good to change it up. And what better way than seeing my cousins, my aunts, and all my family out in Maryland. And it was so good. And don't even get me started about the food. That was just too good.
Was it outdoors? Are you grilling?
Yeah, it was outdoors and indoors, but it was just catering. There was mac and cheese, which was always my favorite, wings, meatballs, potato salad, drinks. It was like food paradise, man. Let me tell you, I was happy to put away the golf clubs. I was happy to park the go-kart in the garage, and I was happy to put down the game controller just to do all that. Let me tell you for sure.
Time out, Adrian.
Sounds like fun.
You didn't mention Doritos.
No Doritos. I'm more than happy to put that aside for some nice soul food, as we call it. So I was really looking forward to that.
That's great. So I assume there were no raisins in the potato salad.
No raisins. I never heard of that in potato salad.
No, it's just a joke. I can't remember which comedian made that joke, but when you said those 3 things, I thought you were going to talk about I don't think they exist anymore, but Erik, do you remember putt-putt golf?
Yeah.
I don't think that company exists, and I don't know if they definitely had games there, and they definitely had mini golf there, but not exactly what you were going for, Adrian. Now, you named those 3 as things that you're into. Are these things that you would either do in terms of activities if you were retiring now, or do you have a side hustle in mind that somehow, are you on Twitch while you're gaming and people paying to watch you play?
I wish I was that popular, but no, not yet. I mean, these are three things I'd like to continue doing my whole life if I could. But like I said, it's always important if you find yourself just maybe doing one activity a bunch of times. It's always maybe helpful just to take a break from it, and then pick it back up later to kind of just rejuvenate it or just get a new perspective from it. I think it's all good. But it was those are activities I love doing, and like I said, the family reunion was a good way to kind of break it up. And boy, it got competitive. We were playing pool, billiards, if that's a better term for people. But man, it gets really competitive when my family's doing anything that involves a winner and a loser. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I can imagine how it gets. I feel like it gets that like that with me and my family when we're competing really for on anything. So, but it sounds
awesome.
like a great weekend. I've got for our category of just sort of common things people do when they retire, and sharing some examples. And I'm going to take the word common out of there because this was very unique. I thought this was pretty cool. I have a client who retired almost 2 years ago, so right before the pandemic. And unfortunately, her plans got derailed, as many people's have, due to the pandemic. But she wanted to hit the road and go to music festivals. So she's got a Jeep Wrangler. She attaches a trailer she can sleep into it. That's big enough for her to live in for a little while. And then she would drive around and go to music festivals. Now, she retired in the winter of 2019. So before her first music festival, the pandemic hit, and then she had to come up with an alternative plan. But for our episode today and things that people do activity-wise as well as side hustles, this is definitely not a side hustle for her. But I thought that was a pretty cool story of someone who, and she actually this summer traveled to a music festival. So summer back, hopefully they stay back on. But I thought that was just a cool story of a unique retirement plan that someone had, because it's the first time in 20 years I have a client who's hitting the road and going to music festivals.
I mean, that's really cool. I mean, one, you're traveling to different places, which is awesome. Two, I bet like all those music festivals, not one of them is the same. So that's also a really cool experience. And it's also, I can imagine it's also a great way to just meet people from like all different walks of life as well. So you're really checking off a bunch of stuff there. It's probably just like just one thing after another 24/7. That's really cool, honestly. I know some of my friends that would like to do that now, who are in their 20s for the rest of their life, just travel around going to festivals.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of fun. I actually have not been to a music festival myself, so I need to go check one out. But in her case too, it's what's really interesting is she listens to everything. So they're all different types of music, different parts of the country that she's going to do this. Eric, did you have any, or what's the first one that you had on your list?
Well, in terms of, if I'm talking about ones that my clients are doing, I've got several. So I'll just, since you just mentioned touring around to music festivals, actually two of my clients, one is a pretty renowned player in a particular genre of music, which is called old style country music. So he is a fiddler, and he's amazing. And so when he finally retired, then they went on the road to different music festivals where he would perform. And then this is also frequently accompanied by square dancing. And so his wife, also pretty talented in her own right, would then call the square dances. So between the two of them, they just had something ready made where they could go be part of this extended community, and in fact to develop and further the cohesion of and the robustness of this musical genre and this musical community. They, in fact, when they retired, went and moved to a nearby state, bought a farm with a farmhouse, not because they were planning on farming, but because they wanted to convert the barn into what could be used then for these gatherings of people from all over the country to come and dance and play and just propagate propagate this musical style. So, and as a matter of fact, my wife and I have gone up to be part of one of these gatherings, and it was just so amazing to just see these incredible players, many of whom were, again, in that same stage of life and able to now exercise these talents.
Are you telling us that you know how to square dance?
Actually, I don't. So they exempted me from the dance, but I certainly know how to tap a foot. Like I'm a mean foot tapper right there, man.
So were you sitting on the sidelines tapping your foot?
Absolutely. I had my lawn chair. I was just sitting there. I've bobbing and tapping. It was great. And I've actually
Still sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, and I've followed them around. So, but anyway, I think that's a wonderful example of people who said they're not just going to retire from something, but they're going to retire to something, and this was the really joyful opportunity for them.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you mentioned they're kind of like a part of a community, and I think that's going to be a really important term we use in this episode, like the overarching theme too. How important it is, or how beneficial it is sometimes to be part of a community or an organization or a club. That's something I really found a lot when I was researching for this episode. Is one benefit is you are meeting new people and you're part of this network, but you're also the value of sharing your experience with other people too is really good. And I know some people are different, where some people find a lot of joy just, going hiking and doing it all by themselves. But there's also other people that really like to be a part of a group or a community or whatever it may be. And for instance, let's say you're somebody that works at a very big company and you're interacting with dozens and dozens of people every day. So retiring to something like an organization, a club or community can kind of really help that transition go a little bit smoother, which I think is really, really good in some cases.
Yeah, actually, one of the comments that a lot of people have made when they've been asked, what about retirement has most surprised you? We're talking about beyond the immediate honeymoon phase of saying, yippee, I'm retired, has been the impact of suddenly having a lot of your social network severed. So if you don't have something in mind where you're going to replace that, I think that transition can be tough. But I've got more. You ready for more?
Yeah, what do you have next?
So one of my clients is a doctor, and she retired. And once her skill sets were known to be available, the local county board of health asked her to come aboard at what is effectively not quite a volunteer role, but given her former salary, pretty close to it, so that she could bring her expertise to bear for the benefit of the county, which she has done now for 3 years. And will continue to do for, I think, one more year. But I just thought that was a great thing here. She has all these skills that she's developed over this long, long period of time, and then she's able to bring that into a different kind of public service when she's done.
That is great too. And in her case, did she ever retire fully, or is this something where it's a part-time role where she can still be retired, or is it still like she's working?
It's part-time, and they give her a lot of flexibility because they understand what she's been doing. So it's still permitted her and her husband to travel down to Florida and spend several months at a stretch down in Florida, enjoying that during the winter. But she's still been active with the board even when she's not necessarily physically present.
Oh, that's great. Now, and she stayed local. Do either of you? I've got one, but do either of you have stories or examples of people that moved? Right, because then it's all your entire social network you've severed versus just the people that you worked with before. Do you have any stories of that? People finding themselves or their activities after a move?
I do. And as a matter of fact, I have a second chapter to that story. So another set of clients, actually listeners to our podcast, who've been very generous with their feedback about how to, what to do more of and what to do less of. They upon her retirement, made a move to a condo closer to the city, so that while in the last few years of his career, they would be able to enjoy the arts and the restaurants and the other sorts of things that they hadn't been able to do in their suburban home. And actually now, this in 2 weeks is his retirement. And in a conversation that we had earlier this week, they told me, based on our podcast about where to live in retirement, you remember I talked about a few places internationally. What they've decided is they're going to go spend a couple years in France.
Oh,
and
wow.
They're thinking there's no time like the present. We had, each of us learned some French during our high school language classes, and more recently, Mrs. Client has been continuing with the study of that, and now Mr. Client wants to do the same thing. So, yes, I mean, I just think that's another really exciting example of saying, why not go experience some other culture and some other domain as a way to continue to learn and to grow and study the language to be prepared for that.
That is really cool. So you said a couple years. Is it actually 2 that they're thinking,
I
or
think so.
Are they just going to feel it out when they get there?
Well, I suppose it's somewhat open-ended. If they absolutely love it, they'll do that. But the point that they made as they explored a little bit further after listening to our podcast was, when we looked outside of Paris and looked at the cost of living in some of the other cities around the country, or in some of the more country living opportunities there, the cost of a rental was roughly half of what they were paying now in this stretch living in a condo. So it's just another experience but still at a lot lower cost than they're currently incurring.
That is interesting. Now that's a lot further away. Now, you said you had 2 chapters to this. Was this first their move to Chicago, or to the city, excuse me, and then their move out? I wasn't sure if you had another one out there.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, so I've got, I had one in mind as well, not as far as France, but I have a couple clients that have moved from the DC metro area to different parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, both of them did volunteer work around pets. One in North Carolina. Actually, they're both in totally different parts of the state, but in North Carolina. One is helping with turtle rescue. This is in the Wrightsville Beach area. The other one decided she loves pets to foster, and she went down there with either 1 or 2 pets, and I think she got like 7 or 8, because occasionally she'll really fall in love with the pet she's fostering and decide to keep it. So they both loved pets, got involved with that when they moved.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you find something you're passionate about, it's always awesome just to look to see how you can just implement that into the world. I think is really awesome, and I'm all for that, helping out the animals and volunteering, because I have a new little puppy now, so that really hits home with me.
That's great. Your heart is now sensitized to those animals. That's great.
Yeah, I gotta. Erik, you mentioned that it was probably a while ago, a couple podcasts ago. And you said that it was like a high impact life episode, and you said you could like donate like an animal or something like that, or you can like volunteer to. Could you just do a quick review, because I might need to get like a few sheep, because my puppy's like a herding animal, so it just like nips at our toes all day because it's like herding constantly. So you might need to get it like a bunch of sheep just to fill that need for it. Honestly.
Well,
Erik knows a farm you can go live at. You just have to learn to square dance.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
I gotta square dance and somehow kidnap some sheep in order to help my corgi be able to fill its desire to herd constantly.
Well, that'd be perfect. I mean, they've got a big lawn, and those sheep could help out. So, I mean, I think we're figuring a way to make this all tie together. But no, that was Heifer Project, and Heifer Project has this opportunity for people to gift animals, which there's sort of like the pay it forward idea. If you receive one of these animals, you make a commitment that the firstborn of that animal that you receive, you'll then transfer off to a different family and allow, through animal husbandry, a way out of poverty for people. So yeah, if Adrian, we've given, let's see, herds of of little chicks. We've given a goat. We've given a true heifer. I mean, we've done a lot of things like that. So if you want to do that with some sheep, that would be awesome. Heifer Project is what it's called.
If I ever see some sheep walking down Leesburg Pike, I'll know they're yours, Adrian.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a lot of space for them, but I'll try and make it work. But that's awesome. I mean, there's just so much. Like, I kind of got, if you guys felt the same way, I kind of got lost in my research of all the different activities, organizations, volunteering, like side hustles, like all the ways you can get active with like hobbies. Like, there's just a lot out there. And we always say, like, this is a common phrase, just do your research and do your homework, because there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of stuff out there.
Well, I want to give some examples of some other things that my clients have done where it wasn't quite as specialized as, a world-renowned fiddler and a doctor and things like that. What if you don't regard yourself as necessarily as distinctively skilled as those two examples that I just gave, but you are looking for some way to stay involved? And this first one I want to give you, I think, is a beautiful example. First of all, this fellow, I really love this guy, and he's just so big-hearted. So what he did is, first of all, there's nothing wrong. This isn't a criticism at all of their marriage. It's just a recognition of their different personality styles. So she is an introvert. My wife is an introvert. I know how much my wife values some time alone each day. It's just rejuvenating for her. And the same is true for his wife. And so what he thought is, okay, what's a way to bless my wife and go get to talk with people, which he loves to do. And he just can strike up a conversation with anyone. So what he did is he became a Lyft driver. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets out there and he starts usually doing airport runs. And he does that until 11 o'clock. And then he comes home and he has lunch in the afternoon with his wife. But she got a start to her morning, which didn't involve him and his, let's somewhat say, more extroverted ways, and sort of crowding her need for that space. So I thought, hey, he doesn't need the cash, although I'm sure, he will find a way to put it to use. But it just took a little bit of initiative on a car and a willingness to get out of bed, and boom, that's been just a really great way to while away some time for him.
I actually met this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, an Uber driver on an airport run really early in the morning that was the same story. He was retired. Well, he didn't mention his wife not wanting him out the house, but he was retired and said that he did that just because he wanted another activity to do. That's one of those things, like from what I understand of the way Uber and Lyft works, you can turn them on and off whenever you want.
Exactly.
So it seems like a perfect side hustle type of thing for someone that wants a little bit of, and I guess he's created the structure. They don't require it, or that kind of activity. And hey, like you said, he's making some extra money that he'll find a way to put to use.
Yeah. In fact, by the way, I know some Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, who've told me that they when they go on a vacation someplace, they may just light up their app and say they're available and do a little bit of driving in their vacation spot and pick up a few extra bucks, and then they've got dinner money, and then they can go to a restaurant that night. So I think, okay, that's pretty creative. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I actually experienced that a few months ago when I actually took like my first Uber. It was like a couple months ago. Not my first Uber, but
in a while.
In a while. Yeah. And the person that was driving us was saying, yeah, I live on the West Coast. I'm in the DC area right now, just visiting friends, and they're all like asleep right now. So I just turn on the app, and it's just a way for me to just, one, get to know the area, get to know the people, and just to make some money. So just having that access is really cool.
By the way, Adrian, it's not the DC area, it's the DMV. You need to remember it's DMV.
Oh, yeah.
The DMV area. I feel like we're on the radio because that's where I hear DMV like 24/7. I turn on the radio and it's just being thrown at me left and right.
I can't forget that. Well, I found some that I would do. Can I? You guys?
Yeah, please.
Well, since we're on the topic of side hustles, I have one funny side hustle that I think our listeners and you guys will get a kick out of. Well, it's my fiance's kind of side hustle, and she's trying to make our puppy TikTok famous.
Oh, really?
Because as you know, puppies and pets, they don't really generate income for the household. They're pretty much an expense. So our kind of pun is we're going to make a TikTok famous so it can pull its weight around the apartment and help generate some money on the side. So we're kind of exploiting it, but in a half-hearted, funny way. So,
Wow.
So how much money has the new puppy brought in so far?
Not a single dime, but actually funny enough, not funny enough. Yesterday, we posted a funny / cool TikTok of it, and it got 1,000 views. So it's got potential. It's got potential.
Yeah, okay. we should bring your puppy on the show to bring that audience.
Yeah,
exactly. Bring that audience.
We
to
need
the
to move the podcast to TikTok.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes, honestly. But it's been fun. So I thought, you got to get creative sometimes. There's, like we said, there's a lot of stuff out there. Just see what you can do and what you like to do and what you're passionate about, and see if you can put it to work.
Yeah. So listeners, I wanted to say, it really just with a little bit of Googling, and if you look up things like activities in retirement or side hustles or things of this kind, you'll find an endless supply of them. In fact, in just preparing for the show, I found 40 of them, and I was thinking maybe I should put them in the show notes, but I thought, no, let me just talk about 3 of them that I thought really struck me as ones I could do. So the first of these is, I think I've mentioned that my wife and I taught English in China for a couple of years early in our marriage. And so in preparing for going to China to do that, I also took a year of a certificate program in teaching English as a second language or to speakers of other languages. So today you can teach ESL online. And in fact, I've seen, I know a woman who was a single mom and had a young child and didn't have a ready-made way to care for that preschool child and still, hold a job outside the home. So what she undertook was to teach ESL online and to use that as a source of income. So if you speak English, you have that as an option, and internet connection and a computer and a camera like we're using for our YouTube audience right now, that could work. Another one that I thought was really cool is to work in the national parks. And so there's a website for national parks called Older and Bolder. If you just Google Older and Bolder, you can go find all of the options that are not only in national parks, but in sort of situations like national parks. And there was one in Yosemite, which I thought looked really interesting. So some of these are housekeeping. Some of these are being a handyman. There's various sorts of things that you can do here. But in a nutshell, what they involve is free housing, and then with a very, very inexpensive meal plan. And then, of course, in your spare time, you're able to get out and see the sights and be part of all of that.
But yeah, I can share another one that I think is a really good one and a good example about like an activity and a side hustle. It's someone pretty close to me in my network. They're currently a teacher right now, but they don't want to be teaching for maybe like the next like decade or so, 10, 15 years, but they definitely want to do something else. And one thing they're pretty passionate about is event planning. And as you know, teaching can be a full-time job, and it's really hard to do that. So what they do is, what they ended up doing was getting a certification and seeing what little events they can help out with and kind of testing it out. And I think that's kind of the important theme here, just testing out a certain activity, hobby, side hustle, whatever it may be, can be really great to see if that's something that you're going to be really passionate about or something that you can do full time. I think is really good. Just trying, and maybe something new, something you maybe haven't really done before, but just kind of testing out and just seeing if this could be something you really enjoy, I think is really important.
And Adrian, I think personally, that's one of the most valuable things that we've shared this episode. I definitely tell people that all the time, where they're looking at their retirement and they've got all these things they want to do. And in some cases, it's people that have so much and they don't know where to start. And I always say, well, just try something out, whatever you think you'd like the most, start with there. And then you get the opposite, where you get people that say, well, I have no idea what I'd want to do. And it's kind of the same advice. Well, think about something you may like and just try it out, and you will typically find something relatively quickly. I've found that clients who try that, usually one or two maybe not one or two, but usually 2 or 3 activities in, figure something out. I'll give some examples of things I know people have tried or thought they wanted to do and then later had to change course. So one is, I have a client that would always travel a month a year. They would get 2 2-week vacations and they would travel abroad. So they initially retired and said, okay, well, I think I want to travel every other month. And they did that for a year and hated it. I said, felt like I'm living out of a suitcase. Maybe 2 to 3 trips a year is more to my liking. So they thought they had a plan in place and they had to shift. On the other side, I know someone who had no plan and then tried a few different things, but I know he landed on becoming a dog walker. So with your story of your new puppy, he loved dogs. His wife didn't, so they didn't have a dog. So this was a way for him to get out the house, similar to what Erik shared about his friend that drives for Lyft. So it gets him out of the house. He gets to spend the time with the dogs that he doesn't have a dog, so he can't spend time with one at home. And he can't bring one home because his wife doesn't want one. But he's able to get both of those things with that activity. But it took him a few attempts to figure out what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Really happy for that person being able to, something that he likes, something that he really enjoys, and just finding a creative way to be able to implement that. I think that's great. And also, like, another thing going off this, just like, maybe set some time frames or set some goals or whatever it may be, because there might be something that, you might be really good at, or something that you really like, but you start out and you might not like it, or it doesn't go as planned. And like, my biggest recommendation is maybe just try and stick with it a little bit. Like, an example is just like one of my friends, I took him out golfing once and he just hated it. It didn't go well at all, but now he picked it back up and he really enjoys it. So sometimes you got to kind of go through the ups, the downs to really enjoy the really good moments. So that's something I think that's really important too, just to really test it out and maybe stick with it for a little while, because it might be something that turns out to be something really fun and something you really enjoy.
There is value in knowing what you don't like, right? So trying something out that you thought you might like and learning that you were wrong, that is valuable information, because you can check that off the list. I'm not going to try this thing again. So kind of counter your keep going with it. I don't know how long you keep going with it, but in your friend's case, he enjoyed it. I've mentioned this story before. There was an attorney that was forced out of retirement because he eventually had a nervous breakdown and was working way too much. Oh. So then he just decided he couldn't go back to work. His health wouldn't permit it. And then he thought he wanted to be on the board of a bunch of organizations because that's what his friends were doing. Tried that and realized he hated it as well. So that got him to try a bunch of other ideas in retirement. So I think trying something and realizing you don't like it is also valuable.
Did you come up with that quote on your own, Roshan? Because that was awesome, man. That was really hitting home on my point.
I did, and I don't remember what I said, so I couldn't quote it again.
But no, that's
thank you.
That's really great, and it's really awesome. It's making me think of like something that some activities like I don't really like. I can't really think of anything that comes to mind. I pretty much like trying everything. There's some foods I don't really like. I guess that really doesn't count. But I was telling Roshan the story when I went to Korean barbecue, and all my friends made me try squid for the first time, and that was a no-go. Never doing that again. I learned that I don't like it, and I won't try it again. So, full disclosure.
Now you know what not to order next time you go to Korean barbecue for you.
Exactly.
So I lost a little internet connectivity there again, guys. Sorry about that. So when I blinked out, I had been talking about teaching ESL.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, can I mention a couple of the others that just think are cool? Did you hear me talk about national parks?
That you start older and bolder, yes.
Older and bolder. Okay, I just think that would be awesome. And then there's one more, which is because I have a farming lineage, if you will, that preceded me. And I did get to spend a few summers on my grandparents' farm. I was in Future Farmers of America. I was in ag science and all this jazz. I have a special place in my heart for the following. That's raising alpacas. So these apparently are really prized for their fur. And so, if you're wanting to say, hey, Adrian, you were talking about getting close to the animals. Here's a way to do something with a little bit of extra property and just doing something that's completely out of the box.
There you go. Adrian, will that take care of your puppy's need to herd? Can you get alpacas instead of sheep?
Do they stray away? Because sheep, they're known to like stray away, and that's like the point of the corgi. It'll herd them back. But alpacas, to me, they're just standing there, and they're like rude, right? Like you get up in their face, they'll kind of just like they'll like get upset or something. Like
I'm not sure.
You're an expert on it.
That was mostly just I thought was intriguing. But I do want to mention for our listeners that are saying, well, okay, you've piqued my curiosity about this. Maybe there's something that I could get out and do, or sort of be pointing toward once I do retire, or I could be doing as a side hustle now. So I want to mention some resources. There are so many resources where you can actually match up your skills with people who are looking for what you do. And in some cases, this is for more creative types, and in other cases, it's just for people who are looking to spend a few hours or maybe a few days doing something, just moving boxes or something. So I want to mention a few of these websites. This is not an endorsement. This is just so that you can get out there and know. I think I found 17 different websites that do this sort of thing. But one of them that we have used to find the team that supports us on the production side is Upwork. Another like Upwork is Freelancer. Another like it is Fiverr. That's 5 with 2 R's at the end. You could do, there's one called Gigawalk, Instawork, Moonlighting, My Work Choice, Snagajob, TaskRabbit, Roadie, Thumbtack, and on and on and on. So if you just do a little bit of internet searching, you can find gazillions of these websites now that are connecting people with skill and time with people who have a need for that, and just facilitating that really, really quickly.
Yeah, there are definitely, and you'd be amazed at how many different types of jobs are out there across these different sites. Erik has mentioned, so you could find something that was in your field that you retired from if you'd like, or you can go into any other field and find an opportunity to try something new. So I think that is good. I know that, and I don't know anyone that's done this. I'm familiar with this organization called SCORE. It's with the Small Business Association, and they take business people and they create mentors. So if you go to their website, for example, you can get typically a retired business person that could be a mentor to you. So if you're looking for the side hustle, you could be a mentor. On the flip side, if you're looking to start something, that might be a resource that's available to you where you can find someone who's got some expertise in the space.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable, just sharing your expertise and your experience, because like I know there's plenty of people my age that would really like enjoy someone that's in their field, or somebody like, let's just say like a sport they're passionate about, and somebody that's like retired that's kind of gone through the whole process of it. It's you can really create some really strong, not only business connections, but personal connections. And I think that's, that really helps the world go around, so to speak.
Yeah. There's also another resource I'll mention. There's a book called How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free by Ernie Zielinski. He has, in one of the chapters, he goes in and he says, here's activities that you can do. And he then lists activity after activity, and it goes on and on. He has, I think, 300 different things on the list. And some of them are as simple. Like I'm reading an example. One of them says, go to a baseball game on a Wednesday afternoon, which would be like a one-time thing.
I
But
did
then
that.
one of the things
That was great. I did that. That was awesome. Such a memorable day and night.
There you go. And then another one that you can't just do it at one time. He says, start a business for enjoyment, not for the money. I met someone once who retired. So we've had on our podcast before, we've talked about some of these retirement classes before. So he attended a retirement class, and he was someone who created training programs before. So he decided in his after he'd gone through the process, that he was going to create his own training program for people transitioning into retirement. So that was something that while he was working on it, now I don't know if it's finished. I met him through one of these groups, and then when the group ended, I haven't talked to him since, but he was working on creating it, and he thought, hey, it might be profitable. It may be something where I could sell the work and someone else could put on the program, or he might just give the program away for free. So the book I mentioned, again, is How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free, and it's got a lot of ideas, some of those which are one-time things, but some of those that could take you a lifetime. Other examples of things that you're definitely not going to do in a day is write your autobiography, learn to play the piano, as Erik mentioned, with his friends and clients moving to France, learning a different language. So there's just so much out there, and now we've talked about this before as well. Retirement now, we're planning on people to be retired for 30 plus years, so you've got plenty of time to work on these things.
Yeah. Well, guys, we had made a commitment to keep this a little shorter. Is there anything else to add?
No, that's everything I've got for all of our listeners.
All right.
Please, we look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be back with another great episode of the Retirement Lifestyle Show. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends and family about us. We've got a new website, which is retirementlifestyleshow.com for additional episodes, for our show notes, for anything else. If you've got questions or you need help, you can reach out to us on there as well. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of the Retirement Lifestyle Show.